Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am your instructor Dr. Rabia. Today I am going to tell you about flower and its morphology. So in this lecture I will tell you in detail about the different parts of the flower, their function and the terminologies that are used to describe the different flowers of the different families. Let's start with what is the flower. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. It means that it is the only organ of the plant that take place in the reproduction of the plants because it have male and the female sex organs for the reproduction of the plants. Basically or morphologically, it is a modified shoot. It means that it is the part of the shoot that laterally modified into the flower. Mostly flower develop in the axil of the leaf or at the apex of the stem and branch. It bears bracts at the base. The flowers are also produced in group which is called inflorescence. So inflorescence is the arrangement of flower on the upper axis of the stem. So the way in which the flowers are arranged on the stem is called the inflorescence. Let's talk about the parts of the flower. A flower has three main parts: the pedicel, receptacle or thalamus, and bracts. Pedicel is actually the stalk of the flower. The flower is produced at the tip or apex of a stalk that is called the pedicel. What is receptacle or thalamus? The tip or end of the pedicel to which floral parts are attached is usually enlarged or swollen. This swollen or enlarged part of the pedicel is known as the receptacle or thalamus. Bracts are actually the modified leaves that are present on the flower. Initially, flowers are in the form of bud, then they bloom in the full flower. Here in this figure you can see the sepals that are green in color. The receptacle, that is, you can clearly see that they are swollen part of the flower on which the whole flowers are arranged or present. Peduncle, pedicel is also known as the peduncle, that is the stalk of the flower on which the receptacle is present, and on the receptacle the sepal, petals, gynoecium and androecium are present. So these are the parts of the flowers. Here you can see the dissected part of the flower. The first one is the pedicel. Then the bracts, you can see that this is the modified part of the leaf and green in color. The thalamus, that is the swollen part. Sepals, that are green in color. Corolla or the petals, that are of vibrant colors in different flowers of the family of the different plants. Filament, anther. Anther and the filaments are collectively called the androecium or the male reproductive part or the stamen. The stigma, style and ovary. So stigma, style and ovary are collectively known as the gynoecium or the carpel of the flower. It is the female reproductive part of the flower. Types of flowers on the basis of presence and absence of bracts and pedicels. It means we can classify the plants in different ways. One of them is the presence or absence of the bracts or the pedicel. The first type is pedicellate. If the pedicel is present, then the flower is called the pedicellate. And if the pedicel is absent, it is known as the sessile flower. For example, saffron or the acanthus flower are the sessile flower. Third category is the subsessile flower. Sometimes the pedicel may be present but it is of very short, then the flower is called the subsessile. For example, in Thyrsus flower, the subsessile pedicel is present. The fourth type is bracteates. If the bracts are present in the axil of the flower, it is called the bracteate flower. And if the bracteates are absent, it is termed as the ebracteate. This is a pedicellate flower that have the pedicels. For example, rose. It is a sessile flower that is without the pedicel. It is a subsessile flower that have the pedicel but it is very short. It is the flower that has the bracts, so it is the bracteate flower. So bracts, here you can see that is a modified leaf that is green in color. So these all are the example of the bracts flower, like Ipomea or Petunia. These are the example of the bracteate flowers that have the bracts. So this one is the ebracteate flower that do not have any bracts. Floral organs. A flower consists of 4 types of floral organs. These parts are arranged in a word in a definite orders. These organs are as follows. First one is the calyx. As in the rose flower, you can see that at the thalamus the green leaf-like structures are present. These are called the calyx or the sepals. The second part is corolla, that is also known as petals. For example, in the rose flower, the red one are the petals or the corolla of the rose flower. This is the flower of the Jatropha, that showing that red colors are the corolla or the petals of the Jatropha flower. The third part is the androecium, the male reproductive part of the flower, that is also called the stamen. So androecium consists of anther and the filament. The fourth part is the gynoecium, that is the female reproductive part of the flower, and it is also called the carpel. Gynoecium consists of 3 parts: stigma, style and ovary. It is also known as the pistil. The ovary contain the ovules. So the first part of floral organ is the calyx or the sepals. In this figure you can see the calyx that are green in color, or they are known as the sepal. It is the hibiscus flower or the shoe flower that are showing the calyx or the sepals. Calyx is the first and the outermost whorl of the flower, that is composed of small leafy structure that is called the sepals. So these are the first outermost part of the flower that are leafy in structure and called the sepals. They are mostly green in color. Petaloids. Sometimes the sepals are not green in color, but they are highly colored. These colored calyx are called the petaloids. Their function is to protect the inner part of the flower. For example, in the figure you can see the sepal that are yellowish in color. These are the petaloids because they are not green in color. In this image you can see the petaloids of different flowers. For example, the E is the petaloid of the begonia flower. So these are the petaloids that are not green in color but are of various colors. I have also mentioned the link from this where I have taken these pictures. Types of flower on the basis of sepals. So we can also divide the flower on the basis of sepals into different categories. The first one is the polysepalous. Polysepalous is the flower when the sepals are free. It is called the polysepalous flower. And the second is gamosepalous. When they are united, mean when the sepals are united, they are called the gamosepalous. And the third type is the pappus. Sometimes the sepals are modified into hairs and called the pappus. It is the characteristics of the Compositae family. So in Compositae family, the sepals are called the pappus. In this figure, you can clearly differentiate between the polysepalous and the gamosepalous. Polysepalous are those calyx where the sepals are free, while the gamosepalous are those calyx when the calyx are united, then these are called the gamosepalous. And when the sepals are hair-like in structure, these are called the pappus. So the polysepalous, gamosepalous and the pappus are the three types of the sepals present in different flowers of the different families of the plants. In this figure, you can clearly differentiate between the gamosepalous and the polysepalous. Gamosepalous, the sepals are united. Polysepalous, the sepals are free. Based upon the sepal and the petal fusion, the flower may be gamosepalous or the polysepalous, or based upon the fusion of the petals, the flower may be polypetalous or the gamopetalous. So these are the hair-like structure that are called the involucre or the pappus present in the Compositae family of the plants. If you have not subscribed to my channel, then please click to subscribe button for more videos. Corolla. Corolla is the second whorl of flower that are of vibrant colored or bright colored. This is the second whorl and composed of expanded and brightly colored structures that are called the petals. So in this diagram you can see the petals of the geranium flower. If we talk about the function of the corolla, then we will see that they may have glands which produce juicy substances that help in the pollination by attracting the various insects. Flowers can also be divided on the basis of petals or corolla. It may be polypetalous, it may be gamopetalous, or it is called the perianth. If the petals are free, it is called the polypetalous. and if the petals are fused together, it is known as the gamopetalous. In some flowers, sepals and petals do not differ in shape and colors, and their members are alike to form a single part of a flower. It is known as the perianth. It means in perianth we cannot differentiate between the sepals and the petals. So when this condition occurred, then we use the word perianth, or we use terminology perianth for the sepals and the petals, where the differentiation is not possible between the sepals and the petal. So polypetalous, gamopetalous and perianth are the three different types of the corolla. In this figure you can see the polypetalous when the petals are free, gamopetalous when the petals are united. And here you can see that there is no difference between the sepals and the petals, or the sepals or the corolla. Then this is called the perianth. Now I am going to tell you about an important terminology of the flower or the taxonomy, that is called the estivation. It is the arrangement of sepals and petals in a flower. So the arrangement of sepals or petals in a flower is called the estivation. It is very important in the classification of plants. One of the most important characteristics in taxonomy. So it's play an important role when we classify the plants. Then we definitely consider the estivation of the flower. So we can categorize or classify the plants or the flowers into different groups on the basis of the different types of the estivation. There are four basic type of estivation. The first one is a velvet. The second type is twisted. The third type is imbricate, and the fourth type is vexillary. In my next slides, I will explain all of these types one by one with examples. So the different types of estivation. The first one is velvet. Velvet is a type of estivation when all the members of a whorl are present in a circle. So the members are present in the form of a circle, and their margins simply remain in contact with each other. Means that the margins are very close to each other but do not overlap. There is no overlapping among the margins, but they are very close to each other. This type of estivation is called the velvet estivation. In this figure you can see that you can see the circle of the floral organs that are present in a form of whorl. So the whorls are present in a circle, and the margins of the whorls are very close to each other but they do not overlap. This type of estivation is the velvet estivation. For example, in mustard plant and the radish, the velvet estivation is present. The second type is twisted. When the sepals or petals are arranged in a manner that one margin of each floral leaf is overlapping one margin of the next one, and its other margin is overlapped by the previous one, it is called the twisted estivation. Its mean, for example, in the figure you can see that in twisted estivation, the sepals and the petals are arranged in a manner that one margin of each floral leaf is overlapping. That one margin is overlapping and one margin with the margin of the next one, and other margin is overlapped by the previous one. For example, in the China rose. So here the overlapping of margin is there. The margins are not free. So this type of estivation is called the twisted estivation that is present in the China rose. The third type of estivation is imbricate. In this type of estivation, when one of the sepal or petal is completely internal and it is overlapped at both ends by the floral leaves, while one floral leaf is completely external, that is having both free ends, and the remaining floral leaves have one end free and another end overlapped. It is called imbricate estivation that is present in the gold moher plant. So in this diagram you can clearly see the internal and the external sepal or petal. This type of estivation is called the imbricate estivation. The fourth type of estivation is vexillary. It is also known as the imbricate or the descending estivation. In this type, one sepal or petal is the outermost and posterior in position. It is the largest one and called standard or vexillum. Mean the outermost posterior sepal or petal, that is largest one, is called the standard or the vexillum. Two are present on the lateral sides, that are called wings or the ali. So the lateral sepal or the petals are called the wings. And two are small and anterior in position. They are nearly overlapped by the two lateral ones. They are known as the keel. So the keel are overlapped by the wings, that are the two lateral sepals or the petals of the flower. So the in vexillary there are present a standard or the vexillum sepal or petal that is posterior in position. There are the two lateral sepals or petal that are called the wings, and there is one anterior that is known as the keel. So the keel are overlapped by the wings. In this diagram you can clearly see the anterior, posterior and the keel. So the firstmost is the vexillum, that is the largest one. The side in the lateral the two are present, that are called the wings, and the third one is the anterior in position, that are completely overlapped, and they are called the keel. Now let's talk about the different shapes of corolla. So the corolla have different shapes in different families of the flowers. The first one is the cruciform. The second one is the rosaceous. The third shape is campanulate. The fourth shape is infundibuliform. Fifth one is rotate. Papilionaceous is the sixth form of the shape of the corolla. Seventh one is the bilabiate. The eighth is ligulate. Next shape is tubular. Then personate. Then cryophyllaceous and urceolate. So there are the 12 different shapes of the corolla that are present in the different families of the flowers of the plants. Now in my next slides I will explain all these 12 shapes one by one with the examples and the diagrams. In my previous slide I have told you that the petals may also be polypetalous or they may be gamopetalous. For example, here you can see the polypetalous form of corolla. The A is the cruciform that is present in the Brassica nigra. The B one is the rosaceous that is present in the rose flower. C is the cryophyllaceous that is dianthus. And the D is the papilionaceous that is present in the pea plant. So these are the polypetalous form of corolla, or these are the different shapes of the corolla that are present in the different flowers. I will explain later on all of these types one by one. And in this diagram you can see the gamopetalous form of corolla. For example, in A, that is the tubular form present in the helianthus or the sunflower plant. B is the campanulate type that is present in the cucurbita family. C is the infundibuliform that is present in the Ipomea flower. D is the salver shaped that is present in the Vinca rosea. E is the urceolate that is present in the Bryophyllum flower. F is the ligulate form of the corolla that is present in the sunflower. G is the bilabiate that is present in the ocimum flower. H is the personate that is present in the snapdragon flower. So these are the gamopetalous form of the corolla. The first shape is the cruciform shape of the corolla. In cruciform, corolla consists of 4 petals arranged in a cross-like X-shaped, for example, brassica. So in this figure you can see that there are the 4 petals that are arranged in the X-like manner or the cross-like manner, for example in the brassica plants. I have given the link from where I have taken that diagrams. And the second diagram is drawn by myself. The second shape of the corolla is rosaceous. The corolla with 5 or more petals arranged regularly outwards. For example, in the rose flower. In this image you can see the cruciform form of the petals that are of X shaped and make a cross like structure. So these all are the cruciform form of the petals. The third type is campanulate. In campanulate form of corolla, petals are arranged in bell-shaped manner. So these are the bell-shaped petals. For example, in Coscuta flower or the Ipomea flower, the campanulate type of corolla is present. So in this image, you can see the campanulate corolla that is present in the Cucurbita family. This is the campanulate or campanulate form of corolla. The bell-shaped campanulate meaning bell-shaped. So the corolla is bell-shaped. And for example, in harebell plant, the campanulate or the bell-shaped petal is present. The links are given below. The fourth type is infundibuliform of corolla. In this type, corolla with funnel-shaped petals. So the funnel-shaped petals are called the infundibuliform petals. For example, present in petunia or the datura plants. So this is the infundibuliform of the petals present in Ipomea flower. The fifth one is the papilionaceous type of flower. Corolla with maxillary aestivation or butter-like. One petal is largest one and is called the vexillum or the standard. The 2 side petal wings and the 2 inner bore shaped petals called the keel, for example in pea plant. So in the image you can see the papilionaceous type of corolla present in the pea family. These are the polypetalous corolla that may of two types, regular form and the irregular form. Among the polypetalous corolla, the rosaceous, cruciform and the cryophyllaceous type of corolla are the regular form of polypetalous corolla, while papilionaceous is the irregular form of corolla. The sixth type is rotate shape of corolla. Here the corolla are wheel shaped. They have the petals that are of wheel shaped. These are the gamopetalous, mean the petals are fused. For example, in the Solanum or the Solanaceae family, the gamopetalous or the rotate corolla are present. Here in the diagram you can see the rotate, that they are present in the form of wheel-like structure, and this is the rotate shape of corolla. The next category is bilabiate. Bilabiate corolla are those corollas where the two lobed petals fuse together and they are zygomorphic. For example, in Ocimum flower, Ocimum basilicum, the bilabiate corolla is present, that are two lobed, mean the petals are of two lobed. Every petal has lobed in its curve, so these are the bilobed petals. For example, in Ocimum, so here you can see the bilabiate corolla in the Ocimum. So these are also the bilabiate corolla. The next type is ligulate. Ligulate are the corolla with flat ligule-like structure above and short narrow tube-like structure below. It means it has a ligule-like structure that is present the above or upper surface and the short narrow tube-like structure to the below surface. For example, in the sunflower, the ligulate shape of corolla is present. Example is Suncus or the sunflower or the Helianthus anus. The next type is tubular. Corolla with tube-like petals and they have a tube-like structure. For example, in the Helianthus anus or the sunflower. The next type is personate. Personate is that type of corolla where the bilabiate corolla with prominent petals. The petals are bilabiate but prominent. For example, in the snapdragon, personate type of corolla are present. Here you can see that the corolla are very prominent but they are bilabiate, mean they have two lobed structures. For example, in snapdragon plant, such type of shape is called the personate. The next type is urceolate. Picture-like corolla, hollow, narrow at the end. For example, in Bryophyllum, urceolate type of corolla is present. The last type of shape of the petal is cryophyllaceous. In cryophyllaceous type of petals, there are 5 petals with long claws and with limbs present at the right angle to the claws. It means that in this type of corolla, the claws and the limbs are present. Such type of petals are present in the dianthus flower. Now the third floral part of the flower is the androecium. That is the male reproductive part of the plant or the flower, that is called the stamen. It is composed of male reproductive organs, the stamen. Each stamen consists of 3 parts: filament, anther and connectives. It also has pollen sacs that contain the pollen grains. In this diagram, you can clearly see the structure of a stamen that is composed of anther and a filament. A filament is the stalk and anther is the expanded head bone at the tip. So filament is the stalk of the stamen while anther is the head or the topmost part of the stamen. Each anther has two lobes and each lobe produces two chambers called the pollen sacs. So we can say that pollen sacs are the chambers of the anthers. Within each pollen sac, the pollen grains are present, which are the male reproductive bodies. So the pollen sacs contain the pollen grains, which are the male reproductive bodies. There are different types of stamens that may be free or fused stamen. The first one is the polyandrous type. When the stamens are free with each other, it is called the polyandrous condition. For example, in the gulmohar plant or the petunia flower. The second type is adelphous. When the stamens are united by their filaments only and the anthers remain free, it is called the adelphous. So polyandrous is that the stamens are free with each other, while in adelphous the filaments are attached or united while the anthers remain the free. The third type is monoadelphous. If all the filaments unite together to form one bundle, it is called the monoadelphous. The last one is diadelphous. If filaments unite in two bundles, it is the diadelphous. The difference between the monoadelphous and diadelphous is that in monoadelphous the filaments are united to form a one bundle, while in diadelphous stamen the filaments united to form the two bundles. And the fifth one is the polyadelphous. If many bundles or groups are formed, it is called the polyadelphous. For example, here you can see the different types of stamens. The A is the monoadelphous, the B is the diadelphous, C is the polyadelphous, many bundles are formed. In diadelphous you can see the two bundles are formed, while in A you can see the monoadelphous where one bundle is formed, and D is the syngenesious form of the stamen. Like, comment and share my video. The next type is syngenesious stamen. It is present in the marigold or the sunflower. Syngenesious stamens are those stamens when the anthers are united together to form one group and filament remain free. It is called the syngenesious condition. The next type is synandrous stamen. When both filaments and anthers unite together to form one group, it is called the synandrous. So in syngenesious stamen, the anthers are united to form one group and filament remain the free, while in synandrous form, both the filaments and anthers united together to form the one group. There are different types of stamen on the basis of the attachment of the stamen. For example, the first one is the epipetalous. In epipetalous type of stamen, the stamens are attached to the corolla and it is called the epipetalous. And when the stamens are attached to the carpel, it is called the gynandrous. The next is the tetradynamous. In tetradynamous, 4 long and 2 short stamens are present in the androecium. It means that there are the total 6 stamens Out of 6 stamens, the 4 long and that are of equal length and the 2 short that are of unequal length or smaller than the 4 larger stamens are present. These are called the tetradenymous form of stamens. The next is the didenymous form. In didenymous form, androecium with 4 stamens, 2 large and 2 are small. So in epipetalous, the stamens are attached to the corolla. Here in this figure you can see that the stamens are attached with the corolla. This condition is called the epipetalous. While in tetradenymous there are 6 stamens are present, 4 are of equal length and they are larger in size, while the 2 are of smaller size, and this is called the tetradenymous form. While in didenymous, 4 type of stamens are present, 2 are larger size and 2 are of smaller sized. Next are the inserted stamen. Inserted stamens are those stamens that found inside the corolla, shorter than the corolla. So this is the type of stamen that are shorter than the corolla, so they are present inside the corolla. Here you can see the inserted stamen that are present inside the corolla, and we can clearly see that the stamen are smaller in size while the corolla are larger than the stamen. The next type is exerted stamens. In this, the stamens found outside the corolla that is larger than the corolla. Inserted mean inside and exerted mean outside. So the difference between the inserted and exerted is that the stamens are present inside the corolla, then this is the inserted stamen, and when they are present outside the corolla, then they are called the exerted stamen. For example, here you can clearly see that these are the stamen that are present outside the petal. So these are the exerted stamen. The next is monothecious. Anther with one cell is called the monothecious, while anther with 2 cells is called the dithecious. The next type is basifixed. Anther is attached to the filament at the base. Basifixed mean that basi mean base. So the anther are attached to the filament at the base. And then dorsifixed. Anther is attached to the filament at the dorsal side. Dorsi mean dorsal side. Basi mean base. So the difference between the basifixed and dorsifixed stamen is that in basifixed the anther attached to the base of the filament, while in the dorsifixed anther is attached to the filament at the dorsal side. Here you can see the different types. These are the basifixed attached to the base, and they are also connected to the connective tissues. Then is the adenate. Adenate is the type of anther where filaments and base of anther are joined together. So in adenate, the filament and the base of the anther are joined together. This is the dorsifixed. The anther is attached to the filament of the dorsal side. The next is the versatile. Versatile is the stamen that movement of the anther in any way. Filament is attached to the back of the anther that it can move in any direction, so it is called the versatile. So in the versatile type of anther, the movement of anther in any way that the filament is attached to the back of the anther. The next type is introse, when the anther facing inward. Then extrose, anther facing outward. So the difference between introse and extrose is that, as the name indicating, introse mean inward and the extrose mean outward. Adenate are the type of stamen where the filament and the base of the anthers are joined together. So the last or the fourth part of the floral organ is gynoecium. It is the female reproductive part of the flower that contain stigma, style and ovary. Stigma, style and ovary are also called the carpels, or they also form the pistil of the flower. The ovary contain the ovules. So it is the structure of the gynoecium, that is the female reproductive part of the plants. Based upon the number of the carpels, the gynoecium are of different types. For example, monocarpellary, when the one carpel is present. Bicarpellary, when the two carpels are present. Tricarpellary, when the three carpels are present. Pentacarpellary consists of 5 carpels. So these are the different types of carpel based upon the number of the carpels. The next terminology is apocarpus. When many carpels are present in a pistil and they are free, it is termed as the apocarpus. So here in the diagram you can see the apocarpus pistil. The number 1 is the lotus plant, B is the Marsilia plant, C is the rose and the D is the sedum. So these are the apocarpus pistil present in the different flowers of the different plants. The next terminology is syncarpus. When the carpels are united together, it is known as the syncarpus. For example, here you can see the syncarpus carpel or the pistil that are united, that contain the stigma, style and the ovary. The next is parts of pistils. A pistil consists of 3 parts. In the figure, the part C, you can see the part of pistil, the stigma, style and ovary. These are the 3 parts of the pistil. Stigma is the uppermost part which receives the pollen grains. Style is the middle elongated stalk and ovary is the basal swollen part of the pistil. The ovary has many or more chambers inside. Each chambers contain one to many ovules. The ovary having one chamber is called the unilocular ovary. And when many chambers are present, it is known as the multilocular ovary. In the diagram, you can see a pistil that is simple. A, for example, it consists of stigma, style and ovary. The B indicating the unilocular ovary. The C is the syncarpus pistil and the D is the trilocular ovary of the syncarpus pistil. So unilocular ovary and the multilocular ovary are the 2 types of ovaries present in the flowers. Placenta is when the ovules are attached to the wall of the ovary by small structure. This is called the placenta. So placenta is the place where the ovules are attached to the walls of the ovary. This is called the placenta. Based upon the position of ovary, there are 3 types of ovaries. The first one is hypogynous. The second one is perigynous. The third one is epigynous. So let me explain these terminologies one by one. So according to the position of the ovary, the flowers are of 3 types: hypogynous, perigynous and the epigynous. What is hypogynous flower? In this type of flower, the calyx, corolla and androecium arise from below the ovary. It means The calyx, corolla and androecium are present below the ovary, or they arise from the lower surface of the ovary. In this way, the ovary becomes superior. So when the calyx, corolla and androecium are below the ovary, the ovary becomes superior and all the other parts are inferior. For example, in China rose. So in hyphogynous flower, the superior ovary is present with inferior other parts of the flowers. While in perigynous form, in this flower, a cup-like structure is formed around the base of the ovary, and calyx, corolla and androecium arise from the tip of the cup. In this way, the ovary is half covered and half free. It means the ovary is half superior and half inferior. For example, in rose. So in rose, perigynous ovary is present where the calyx, corolla and androecium arise from the tip of the cup. They are in the cup-like structure and the ovary is inferior and half superior. While in epigynous condition, the flower, a tube-like structure is formed around the ovary, and ovary is completely enclosed by this floral tube. In epigynous, the tube-like structure that is formed around the ovary, and the ovary is completely enclosed inside the floral tube. Other floral parts arise above the ovary. So ovary remain inferior while the other parts become the superior. So the epigynous condition is opposite to the hyphogynous condition. In hyphogynous condition, the ovary is superior and the rest of the floral organs are inferior. While in epigynous, the ovary remain inferior while the rest of the flower become the superior. For example, in sunflower and carrot, epigynous condition is present. So these were the three positions of ovary: hypogynous, perigynous and the epigynous. So in this diagram you can see the position of floral leaves on the thalamus. I have told you that thalamus is the swollen part of the flower where all the sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium are arranged, and it is a swollen portion. So the number A diagram indicating the hyphogynous condition where the superior ovary is present. B indicating the perigynous condition. B and C are the perigynous condition where the half inferior and half superior ovary is present. While D is the epigynous condition where the inferior ovary is present while the other floral parts are the superior. So these are the difference between the hyphogyny, perigyny and the epigyny based upon the position of the ovary. So I have given also the reference of the books from which most of the materials are taken. So you can also read many other books for this lecture. This is only the reference lecture, so you can study or explain or understand the terminologies that I have used throughout the lectures. So let me conclude that in this lecture I have told you about what is flower, what are the different parts of the flowers. I have told you about the sepals, polysepalous, gamosepalous. I have told you about the polypetalous, gamopetalous. I have told you about androecium, parts of androecium, different types of stamens, different type of anthers. I have told you about gynoecium, different type of gynoecium, pistil. What is pistil? I have told you about the placenta. I have told you about the inflorescence. So these are all are the important terminologies one must understand before starting the families, because my next videos will be on the different families of the plants. They are of dicot families and the monocot families. So terminologies of the flower, of the stamens or the androecium are very much important, because they are the important characteristics on the basis of which we can classify the plants. Thank you so much for watching my video in detail. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel for further videos and the further lectures. My all lectures are very helpful for those students who are in the BS or doing BSc in botany or zoology. So my whole lectures will cover the syllabus of plant anatomy, taxonomy of the BS level. Thank you so much. Take care. Inshallah. See you soon in my next video. Allah Hafiz.